I don't even know why we put signal lights on vehicles around here, to be honest.
Well, it was a thing.
Yeah.
I was using my signal lights.
Yes.
And yet I was the one that got pulled over. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times.
Good. Well, some kind of time.
Okay, times.
Yeah, times were had. Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. Got two of us this evening. Scouter Collins over there.
Hello.
I am still Scouter Ken.
You are. Congratulations.
Not everybody can claim to be that.
No. But I'm glad that you are.
Excellent.
And you made it.
Yeah, made it home. Made it...
Quite an adventure for you.
It was. And I mean, in a lot of good ways. I shouldn't sigh, but...
well, I mean, I'm sure there were some challenges too.
Oh, there were challenges.
But
there were good times too.
I mean, if everybody made it back in one piece, then you can consider that a win.
Yeah. I guess it's been actually almost a month to the day since we made it back.
Nice. And you didn't have the unfortunate heat that others had in their international adventures.
Well, and I figured we might wind up talking about, you had suggested maybe talking about that too.
I did.
It's kind of just going to be a debrief of Kander100 and then also maybe a, not that either of us went to WJ, but there's a lot to say about that. Maybe there's a lot to say about that. I'm not sure.
I'd be interested in a hot take from somebody else that maybe went there. But
well, I mean... You know, it was kind of funny because, well, funny maybe is the wrong word, but like...
Funny, not ha-ha funny, but funny.
Yeah, like it's like, oh no.
Situationally funny? No,
not even that. Like
not
it's just, yeah, that's just my terrible sense of humor creeping through. But it was, so I mean, Kander100 started first, and then WJ started a few days after.
That's right. And
yeah.
Well, what about
August 1st, I think.
Harlem. What was
and then Harlem started a couple of days after that.
Right. They were all in and around the same.
They were all in around the same time. But I think like Kander100 started first, and then WJ I think officially started on the 1st of August. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And then Harlem was like the 3rd or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, like all in that same span of time. But anyways, we'd already been at Kander100 for coming up on a week by the time that we started to hear. Actually, we hadn't been there more than maybe 2 or 3 days, because like we started to hear rumblings about troubles at WJ before WJ even started, during the pre-camps.
Interesting.
Because there were a lot of pre-camps going on.
Right.
And an issue that crept up with them was rain.
Oh.
They had, I guess there were a lot of issues of like, rain, flooding,
interesting,
things like that.
Yep. I knew there had been some rain, and maybe that contributed to the high humidity at the time.
Maybe. And like I didn't pay too much, because like it was kind of just like scattered reports coming in, and it was pre-camp stuff, so okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then the ceremony officially kicks off, and then you start hearing other things.
Yeah.
And especially things like, the heat and the hygiene levels. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, WASM and Scouts Canada and everybody else start issuing statements. Like I think WASM's first statement was on the 4th, where they noted that, over the past few days, an extreme heat wave and humidity have caused some challenging conditions for young people and volunteers taking part in the event. Mm-hmm. And then I think a little bit later also on the 4th, we were informed that the UK contingent made the choice to leave the Jamboree camp early. So they quit site, I think, headed for the capital city. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think when the Americans pulled out, but the Americans also made the decision to leave a little bit after the British did.
Yeah.
I think the Americans evacuated to one of the military bases.
Right.
I think Scouts Canada pulled a lot of their people out to the capital city. closing ceremony ended up being at like a
At a stadium or
in
something.
capital city.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Seoul.
In Seoul. That's right.
And I mean, they did try and, relocate a lot of activities as best they could to, the city and the surrounding regions.
Yeah.
But like there was definitely a big ball drop. And by the 7th, there was by the 7th, fortunes had shifted again because like we had started to hear some reports that, things were starting to improve. The government had stepped in more directly. They'd started providing like air conditioning trucks and more facilities and whatever else for hygiene purposes. And the weather was starting to turn a little bit, and then the weather continued to turn. And so on the 7th, all of a sudden, WASM started issuing calls for an early end to the Jamboree because now
evacuation
there's this
notices.
typhoon bearing down on the site.
That kind of puts a real damper on your camping experience. So.
Pun intended.
I went there.
Yeah, you own your puns.
That's right. Wasn't even a happy coincidence. It was just me being me.
Yeah. And so, and even then, the closing ceremony, I think, like the planned duration was the 1st to the 12th, and I think the closing ceremony was on the 11th. So they did wind up closing it a day early after the site was, essentially fully evacuated.
Yeah.
So, kind of not the best outcome of that whole situation.
But so. This is me not having any necessarily skin in the game, so to speak, or anything like that. But, I read the reports coming out, and I mean, WJs have always been a challenge.
Well,
right?
yeah.
There's always been a logistical challenge
when
to
you're
it, right?
Bringing 40 to 50,000 people.
You're creating a small city inside an area, right? And it's happening within the span of like 48 hours, right? It's like all of a sudden you blink and it's there. I remember the one that we went to most certainly had its challenges.
Yeah, nothing quite like this. I mean, the weather was actually very cooperative for the most part.
Well, for us, yeah. I mean, that was...
But I do distinctly remember, like,
I remember being stranded on the side of the road waiting for a bus.
Well, there was that. Yes, the transport part was a little bit crummy. Well, once we were there, it was fine. But yeah, getting there was a bit of a thing. Because, like, we came into Heathrow and then we got staged at that old abandoned RAF station.
Right.
And then...
Put on a bus.
Like, yeah, that was a bit of a mess. And we kind of dragged ourselves across the finish line, actually getting to the adult subcamp.
Yeah.
And then I remember, too, like, you could kind of track when they had run out of sanitizer at the bathrooms because there was, like, a wave of, colds that would, like, spread through the subcamp.
Yes.
And that happened at least twice.
Yep. And I also distinctly remember at one point toilet paper becoming a hot commodity.
Yes. And there's never enough showers.
No. And they're never clean enough. It's like...
I mean, that's difficult to keep up with any number of people going through it.
But still, I mean, like, a person could complain about that, too. Right?
Well, I mean, it's not to say that, well, you should just let it slide. No, absolutely. Like, it is a problem. Yeah. And that was definitely a problem that was identified with WJ 2023 as well.
Yeah.
But, like, you can appreciate that it's still a problem and it's still something to complain about, even if you can understand that it's, you're literally exceeding the logistical capabilities of the site.
So my question, like the one that I'm kind of posed to myself to try and find an answer to, and like I said, maybe somebody who had attended is listening and can provide better insight into the situation, is like, was it like legitimately a lack of things, or was it just, poor upkeep of it, or was it, people just wanting to, people are like, we can't deal with this situation, so we're going to exit because that's the easy out?
It's a good question. I
don't want to, come off and be like, people are wusses and they should have just stuck it out. And I'm sure there were really valid reasons, and I read that it was horrible and that kind of thing, and I'm like, I would not have wanted to be in the thick of that.
No. I mean, talking about it with some of the other scouters who were there and who had some knowledge of like the planning that went into it. One thing that kind of kept coming up again and again was like, it was essentially an artificial site, right? You know, it was
on a floodplain, wasn't it?
Kind of, but also it was just kind of an empty field, right?
Yeah.
There's
no trees.
not really there's not a lot of shade, not a lot of like natural shelter, just kind of out there and exposed. And I've been at camps like that before, and they're not fun when the sun comes up because you have nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Right? And the humidity doesn't help either.
Unless you provide your own sun shields and,
Right,
whatnot.
right. So, I mean, yeah, but even then, that might only get you so far. You can't hide in a tent on a day like that, especially when the humidity's high.
No,
and
of course not.
I mean, yeah, if you have like pop-up shelters over your food prep area, like that'll provide you some shade. But again,
some relief.
Can't really shake the heat too much.
Yeah.
Especially with the humidity.
So if you're at 40 Celsius with 100% humidex, you are living in a sauna.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's like living in a wet sauna.
Exactly. And
thank you.
Staying inert in the heat is, it's not going to feel any. It's a different kind of, it's like staying inert when it's really, really cold, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be any help to you. Differently, but still not going to be any help to you. So, like, I don't fault, the Americans or the British or the Canadians for making the decision to quit the site, because at some point, especially when it's sustained over the course of several days, like you do need to get people out of that.
Oh, agreed.
And so I think that was definitely the right call. Now, as I think you and I can both appreciate working with industry, at least in my industry, they're really trying to move away from the term accident because there really aren't. There are incidents, and there are usually a chain of failures that lead up to the actual incident, whatever it is.
Yes.
And so I think the sense I get is that probably is what happened with WJ this time around, is that, sort of there were a cascading sequence of errors that ultimately led to what unfolded.
Right.
Part of which was, and the weather doesn't help. And you can do absolutely nothing when there's a typhoon bearing down on you.
Yeah. I mean, natural disasters are going to...
When you have what's essentially a hurricane coming your way, like, go.
Yeah.
Just, because, yes, being prepared in that case means having a vehicle.
Yeah, right. Or the means to move a bunch of people off site, right?
Right. You gain nothing by sticking it out. But, before that, there were obviously things that transpired that led to the situation of them not being able to address the needs of the participants adequately at the onset of the heat wave and during the heat wave. And then, of course, by the time the mitigations actually started to roll in, it was kind of too late.
Yeah, the horse was out of the barn, so to speak.
And people were already planning to leave site, and like you can't.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of easy to prognosticate at a distance.
Yeah,
but,
right.
And I'm sure there's going to probably be a report of some kind that's done, an investigation of some kind that's done, that's hopefully going to shed some more light on it. But it is. Well, it's disappointing to see, right? Because even with the challenges of toilet paper and hand sanitizer and busing that we experienced in WHA 2007, overall, a very, very positive experience, memorable.
Yes.
And
it was wet, though.
At times, yeah. I mean, it's England, right? You know what you're getting.
Well, I mean, if your tent is flooding and floating away, there's this subtle issue.
Oh, you were at Candlestick. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But we did have some inclement weather, definitely. But
I remember packing around mud on my boots. So I mean, I think the amount of rain we had would be like Burning Man equivalency.
Yes, but not on that silty, sandy desert.
True. Although
ground that's used to soaking up water.
Yeah, but like I distinctly remember like where people had been walking a whole bunch. It was all pounded out, and it was that gumbo like really sticky mud.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's what I would equate it to. But like,
I think
maybe
though,
not Burning Man necessarily.
But yeah, no, it definitely does get wet. But like, I don't know. Have you ever been to the Hoodoos in Drumheller after a rain?
Yes.
I think that's probably more like what Burning Man was like.
I'm not laughing.
Of course not. But now you're laughing.
It makes me chuckle. That's all. Anyways,
but it's just not a good year for events.
No,
it's just
that's why I'm chuckling to myself. I'm like, wow. Anybody else have anything teed up?
Right.
Something
I didn't hear anything about the American Jamboree. Maybe that one went off without a hitch.
Maybe.
But so
tell me about
Kandersteg. Yeah, a little debrief on Kandersteg. Yeah. Well, I mean, getting there was okay, but it will not surprise you to learn that Air Canada managed to lose some of our luggage.
Yes.
Specifically, all my wife's luggage.
Yes.
So, because like we were split up, right? There was me and the two older kids at Kandersteg,
right,
the Scout Center, and then my wife had a rental apartment for her and the two younger kids in Kandersteg Village proper. So we had all of our camping gear, and that all got packed, and that arrived just fine in Zurich. And none of the suitcases for Grace or William or Lena got off the plane.
Oh,
so we were a little miffed by that. Now, two of the suitcases showed up the next day.
Excellent.
So we were kind of winging it that first night.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had packed some extra clothes and the girls had packed some extra clothes. So we kind of got everybody covered.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we got word, oh, okay, two of the bags have arrived. So I, you know, was able to pick them up. And it kind of, a more different Air Canada failure, the inability of the plane to leave Pearson anywhere, you know, because the rest of we flew ahead by a day because we were the only ones coming out of Edmonton.
Okay.
And then the rest were flying out of Pearson because most of the rest were from Ontario. There were also some out of Calgary, but they were already in Europe. They were like doing some tourism around France.
Oh, okay.
And so then we were all going to meet actually at Kandersteg, but me and Grace and the kids were going to meet the Ontario people in Zurich at the airport, and then we'll all just get on the train and go to Kandersteg from there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the plan. Well, the plane didn't leave Pearson on time.
Mm.
So that bought us a couple of extra hours, which worked out well because I needed the extra time to, get the family secured at the airport, hop back on the tram, go a few stops down to the courier company, grab the two bags that they'd been given, and then get back to the airport. So at least we had two out of the three missing bags. The third missing bag didn't show up until the national holiday, August 1st. And it had clearly been left sitting out on a rainy tarmac.
Oh.
So, yeah, that sucked. But, I mean, nothing was destroyed in it, at least.
Well, that's good.
You know, nothing, some Lysol wipes and a couple of rounds in the washing machine couldn't, get the smell was handled too, but like it's just annoying to like.
Yeah, well, it's work that you didn't want to have to put in to get your stuff back, right?
Yeah, and we were like so looking forward. It's like, we got the call. Oh, they found the bag. Cool. We're going to run it up to you. Cool. And then it shows up and we're like, yay.
Thanks,
and then
Air
we
Canada.
open it and we're like, oh,
you.
Thanks, Air Canada. So, yeah. Just like, anyway. But, I mean, okay, so let's kind of fast forwarding a bit.
Luggage aside.
Oh. And Grace was actually clever in the sense that, she had striped everybody's stuff across all three bags. So it wasn't like this one bag is Grace's, this one bag is William's, this one bag is Elena's.
Yeah.
There was a bit of Grace's stuff, Elena's stuff, and William's stuff in each of the three bags. Mm-hmm. So retrieving any two of them, we were okay.
Nice.
And then the third one showed up and it was like, okay. But the third one also had like all of our goodies for Cultural Day. So we were really, really waiting on that one.
Yeah.
So it got there in time. So that was okay.
That's good.
But anyways, yeah. So, I mean, we met the Ontario guys and then actually a handful of other Canadians as well that had come over like separate bookings. Mm-hmm. And met them at the airport, got them settled with their train passes. Up to Kandersteg we went. A 2.5 hour train ride. You can get anywhere in Switzerland on the trains. It's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And, got to Kandersteg Village. Grace's apartment was about a 5-minute walk from the train station. So the rest of the guys kind of started making their way up to site. We got her settled in the apartment, and then we joined him up at site. Got the camp set up. We had somebody in our group who needed a CPAP machine. So
there was
we had there was only one powered site. And so we had to co-share it with the Maltese, who also had somebody who had a medical device.
Yeah. I was going to say, so you ran a really long extension cord.
Well, yes, they did find a very long extension cord. And
1 kilometer of extension cord.
No, but it was about a kilometer walk in because it was at the very, very back of the campsite.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, it was us and the Maltese sharing a site.
Yeah.
And then so at the end of the campsite in Kandersteg, there's a thing called the Tower, which is actually like a bunkhouse and kitchen. So Hong Kong was in the Tower, which is also where the bathrooms are. And then you had us like right outside with the Maltese, and then we had like British, North American or American,
Yep.
and then 2 Swedish groups around us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good group.
Very, very good. So it was kind of interesting to, when we got everything set up, we had a bit of a disagreement with the Maltese about like positioning of tents and stuff, because they had it was a very swampy site. This will be relevant later. And so they had kind of positioned on all the dry spots already. And we're just like, well, it's clearly been raining and we don't want to set up in that gooey mud. Yeah. So we got some stuff, we rearranged some stuff, and we got a dryish zone where we could set up our tents. And it was okay, we thought. The first couple days there were essentially just free time. Mm-hmm. So lots of opportunities to explore the area, go on, just our own self-guided hikes, figure out the campsite, figure out meal schedules and things like that. Mm-hmm. And start getting into a routine. I was joking with Ian because he's been told that, when he goes about replacing our group stoves, he should focus on getting propane stoves if possible.
Right.
He's not too happy about that. He prefers the white gas.
Yeah.
And so I was joking with him when I saw him last that, he would have felt oddly vindicated by the stoves that Kandersteg issued us. Yeah. Because they were gutless. No offense to Kandersteg, but the rental stoves were woefully underpowered. The first night we were there, it was a noodle dish we had to make.
That was propane?
Propane stove.
Okay.
And it was a noodle dish we had to make. Yeah. It took 2 hours to boil the noodles.
Water?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like it was painful.
I wonder if that's just altitude, right?
Well, it's only about 1,000 feet higher than here. Mm. But I will say this. Mm-hmm. One of our stoves was defective. One of the burners was kind of warped. Oh. And so it didn't really work properly anyways. Oh. So the next day I took that back to the campsite office. Mm-hmm. And just like, we need a different stove. This one doesn't work. Yeah. And they're like, well, we don't have any more of these, but I do have this. And it's like a cast iron frame with like 2 circular barbecue burners on it. I'm like, I will take that.
Good enough.
Yeah. I also found an exceptionally large, 18-inch radius wok pan.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was good too. That actually, I think, was the big step up in our game, in our cooking game, because the camp kit that we had only gave us a single frying pan. So trying to do sausages for 17 people was a bit challenging. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, I'm not unfamiliar with the concept of, a camp stove double boiler.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are familiar.
Which serves well to keep things warm once you've fried them. So, yep. But then, the opening ceremony happened and we started taking in the different events. Mm-hmm. And there were, Kandersteg has a few of the standard challenge activities: crate stacking, Jacob's ladder, ziplining.
Yeah, the high ropes and such.
Well, the high ropes was actually at a different place.
Oh, okay.
But that was fun.
That wasn't in Kandersteg.
That wasn't at the Scout Center directly. It was in a little town about half an hour away called Frutigen. There was a high ropes course, very similar to the aerial park here at Whitemud.
I wonder if there's a similarity in design.
I like to think that
the design engineer.
Well, I like to think that Scudder Morgan, who was a pinky at Kandersteg, and who also worked at Rainbow Valley, might have had a hand in that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just speculating idly, but I like to think that.
Sometimes it's fun to speculate.
Exactly. I'm building my own folklore here.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then they had other stuff set, like they had a ham radio thing set up.
Oh, wow.
They had what they called the Global Goals tent. Mm-hmm. So all about like the UN Strategic Development Goals, which globally Scouting has put a lot of focus on, even if in Scouts Canada we don't necessarily do that from group to group. Mm-hmm. Like the 59th hasn't given it a lot of emphasis. But that was neat to take in. The spiritual development area that I wanted to see, that was cool.
Yep.
Of course, there was a bar for the adults.
Of course.
And there was also what they called social cafe for the youth, which had like, there was an ice cream truck, and some days there was like a fry food truck, like a fries and I think like Mexican food truck. And coffee and tea and stuff. So you could go and hang out with Scouts and do it from around the world, do different activities. So I was really trying to encourage that. There was a campfire the first night there.
Oh, nice.
And then on like the 5th and 6th, they did 2 more campfires. And so I took Ella and Juliana to the first campfire, and they had already put the program together for that. But they had such a blast with that and seeing the enthusiasm of everybody there that like Ella put her name in the hat to do a song at the campfire on the 5th.
Nice.
Right. Which was awesome. And she chose to do the Ratlin Bog because they sang that a lot over her 4 years with Orange Troop.
Okay, yeah.
That was one of Scudder Allen Grizzly's preferred pieces to do at a campfire. And it's a fun song.
Yeah.
But the way Allen does it is the Irish behind me and around me when I was sitting there on the 5th were particularly happy when she announced that it was the Ratlin Bog that she was going to do.
Yeah.
It was just, they were like, oh yeah, this, Ireland represent. They were happy because I guess it's a very popular song for Irish Scouts. But evidently, for most of the Irish troops that I spoke to since then, the lyrics are fixed, right? It's a set sequence of things.
Oh, yes.
That are on the tree in the bog down in the valley.
Right.
We don't do it that way.
Oh.
We start with the tree in the bog down in the valley. And on that tree there was and that's where crowd participation comes in.
Oh.
And that's how Ella did it. Oh. So it was a pretty wacky assembly of things that ended up on the tree. It always is.
Yeah.
But I was just floored at, her comfort level with, getting up in front of 1,000 strangers and singing a song, because that's not something that I would normally have her pegged for. She's large and in charge at almost everything else she does in Scouting. Yeah. But that's kind of like her one thing that she's not so keen on. And she owned it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Grace had a great time as well. She actually had an absolute blast vacation for a couple of reasons. One, she's all about like the plans, and then I'm logistics, right? Mm-hmm. She'll say, I want to go do this today. Let's figure out how to do this. And then it's my job to, do we do that, if we
take the train
leave at this time, we take the train, go here, get off here, and then
walk,
boom, we're there, right? She's the plan, I'm the map.
Okay.
She has always, as long as I've known her, had a significant nervousness around like planning and executing her own travel. Mm-hmm. She's happy to come up with the idea, but the actual like figuring out the travel part has always that's not a comfort thing for her. Mm-hmm. And we were at the Fruitage and High Ropes course. Mm-hmm. That was our booked day to go down to it. So we had all gone down, the entire Canadian contingent. We're having a blast on the high ropes, climbing around. There's also mini golf there, so that was good. Mm-hmm. And then she sends me a picture. And, she's obviously taken the kids. They've gone somewhere. They're in some little Swiss village. Mm-hmm. The kids are enjoying sausages. And is that the Matterhorn in the background?
Nice.
Planned and organized the whole trip to Zermatt. Yeah. About 3.5 hours one way on the train.
Nice.
And then back.
Yeah. But had lunch.
They went there, had lunch, giant sausages.
Yeah.
Sure do love giant sausages.
Yeah.
Lego movie. And saw the mountain.
Yeah.
Yep. Found a chocolatier there. Mm-hmm. Brought back a whole bunch of stuff from there. Mm-hmm. Some of which I gave to Ian and Jill. And then they came back. And that's another funny thing too, though, is, for you, for me, for Grace, It's 3.5 hour trip one way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit long, but it's not the worst thing, right?
No.
It's like Calgary and a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, me talking about that with like, some of the German scouts or the Swedish scouts in there.
They are surprised that you didn't stay the night.
Right. Yeah. They're like, what?
So
that's a day trip?
I have a similar story. We had a client who was on a personal vacation, and I had never met them, and they were from the Netherlands. I'm like, you know what? You have traveled this far, and you're going to be in Alberta. I will come to you, and I'm like, let me know when you're in Jasper, and I will come to you, and if we can plan it so that I'm there for lunch, that works best for me for travel time.
Perfect.
Because I can get up, drive to Jasper, have lunch, turn around and drive back. And they're like, how long of a drive is it to Jasper? It's 4 hours, four and change.
Yeah.
And he goes, and you're not going to stay? Well, no.
I don't need to.
I'm coming to visit. I'm coming to meet you. I'm coming to say hi.
Yeah.
I don't have the need to stay. I've seen Jasper. I know what it. I know what it's like.
If I get there for lunch, I'll be home before it's dark. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we talked about that at length when I was there. They're just like, we can't believe that you did that. And I'm like, and they're like, Canada is very car centric, and I'm like,
it is that.
It is very car centric. If you want to go from one place to another, there is public transit in bigger centers that work, but for the most part,
most of North America is very car centric.
You need a car to get around.
But Canada is also vast. So even if we were, even if we had, a transit infrastructure to rival Switzerland's.
Right. Like if you wanted to take a train and go from Calgary to High Level, let's say.
Whatever, yeah. It's still Calgary to High Level, right? Yeah. Like it's just the distance involved is vast.
Yeah.
So, you just, the minds, and yes, it is car centric, but even if it was a train centric country, it's still huge. And so the thinking about, time, distance, what's a day trip, what isn't, it's just not the same.
Yeah. And I think that is a lot from having family spread out so far around, right?
Yeah.
Like I have family that's in the next province over in Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
You have family that's next
British
province
Columbia.
over in BC. So driving 12 hours to visit somebody, at that point,
that's an overnight.
When you drive 12 hours, that's an overnight.
Yeah, that's an overnight.
But that said, even a 6-hour trip is not unheard of to do whatever it is you need to do.
If you leave early enough, you can do it in a day. Yeah.
And come back, right?
Yeah.
If it's urgent enough.
Yeah.
And you're not spending, another 6 hours doing the thing that you wanted to do. Like if it's just, a couple of hours.
Yeah. You can do that in a day.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that was kind of...
It is a neat difference.
Yeah, it is. And it works to our advantage, right? Because we don't mind hopping on it. We did that with like the Gruyere thing as well, right? Went to the cheese factory, went to Cahiers Chocolates. They're kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
Then again, like 2.5 hours on the train.
Just got up early.
Off.
Got up early and caught an early train, and away you go, right?
Oh, but I got to admit, I've forever ruined mac and cheese for myself.
Oh.
So we did the cheese factory tour is really short.
Yes.
Like if you're in Gruyere, the cheese factory tour is like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Longer if you want to read
the cheese
every single thing.
Have at the end of it.
Okay, so there's a restaurant, right?
Let's cut to the chase.
It was about lunchtime. So we sit down at the restaurant and, we're looking at the menu. And of course we have two who are dairy free. So we find some stuff that they can have. And then, we order around that, right? Cheese plate and mac and cheese and charcuterie and whatever else, right? There's a whole selection of stuff that we ordered. Mm-hmm. Well, mac and cheese comes out. Well, actually, no. First, I got to laugh at the fondue. Because we did order a small fondue. Mm-hmm. And we ordered what the waitress assured us was a single person serving of cheese. 4 of us dipping, we still had cheese left.
There was enough cheese to plug up.
Yeah. I know the North American diet.
Yes.
It's a lot of ribbing for not being particularly healthy, and it deserves every bit of it.
Yes.
But I don't understand how that was a single person serving of cheese.
That was a single person.
But the macaroni, oh my gosh. Like, Juliana was the one who ordered it. She loves mac and cheese. And she ate a bit of it, but she's like, this is so rich for me. Like, I can't finish this. She passes it off to Grace. Grace, like, tries a noodle, and she's like,
ooh.
Oh my gosh. I try like a couple bites, and I'm like, ooh, I can't go back. I can't go back to KD. Like, just we're done.
Slumming it with craft dinner.
No, like I can't go back.
No.
I've forever ruined mac and cheese for myself.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it was worth it.
Even if you amp it up and add like,
even if I go and buy Gruyere cheese at Costco for $17 a brick or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's funny. I love it.
So that was good. Saw the Cahiers chocolates. We ended the day. We also did Lindt chocolates the day before we flew home. But yeah, like the rest of camp was good. We did the August 1st hike up to Ocean and Sea. Beautiful lake up in the mountains, but kind of a grueling hike up there. About 900 meters net elevation change. Kind of a thing. And actually, we did that twice in a day because Grace wanted to go see it as well. So on the 31st of July, we went up there. Yeah. Although we took the gondola that way, but still, from the gondola to the lake is still a significant hike. Yeah. And then the next day, the scout group walked down from the scout center through Kandersteg up to Ocean and Sea for a sunrise ceremony. So we got up at like 5:30 and started walking. It was just, it was brutal. But it was the sunrise ceremony was nice. And it was, I mean, it's a beautiful place. Like, it's well worth seeing. And it's right there. Like, it's just above Kandersteg. That's one thing I noticed about the Alps, right? Like, the Alps feel more intimate. Like,
I got that too when I went to Chamonix in France there. So,
like, when you're in the Rockies, I mean, I think actually, like, from bottom to top, the Rockies generally on average are taller. But also, when you're in the Rocky Mountains and you're like in that valley between mountains,
there's a lot of space.
Feel like they're just so far away.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Alps, they feel right there, and they are right there.
Yeah,
like, you could literally,
you're on the side of it, more or less. Right?
From Kandersteg Town Square to like the base of the mountain that has Ocean and Sea, 15-minute walk, and then you're going uphill.
Yeah,
right, and then it's like maybe 2 hours to the top.
Yeah,
right. Like it's so close.
If you're not at the bottom of the valley, you're actually climbing.
Yeah, you're on the slope somewhere.
You're on a slope somewhere.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
just feeling that it was actually like there and close, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And then we did go to Italy for Grace's birthday.
Nice,
because when you have a train pass for Switzerland, so kind of in the southern part of Switzerland. On the German side, you have Brig is kind of the last major city. And then the Italian part of Switzerland, there's the city of Locarno. And the most direct route between them by rail is through Italy and the city of Domodossola.
Okay.
So we went to Domodossola for Grace's birthday.
Nice.
Saw a nice museum, went to mass, had a lovely lunch at a restaurant where nobody spoke English, and I had to muddle by with the Translate app on my phone, and fortunately, singing.
You're very broken German.
Well, Italian.
Oh, Italian, yes.
But fortunately, singing in choirs for a few years, you at least learn the ins and outs of Italian pronunciation.
Yeah.
So then all you have to do is figure out what the menu is telling you to,
Yeah. What the words mean.
Yeah.
And then
right. And then you're like, oh yeah, she'll have the diavola, she'll have the this and that. And so it's like, okay, fine, we can muddle by.
Yeah.
But, so Grace got to have her 40th birthday in Italy. That was lovely. And then, camp closed up, did the interview with the director, did the interview with Sam and Laura, the Pinkies. Both of those episodes have since come out. It was overall a grand time.
Well, that's great. I am a lot jealous, actually. Well, but that's good.
I get it now, right? Like, I'd never heard of Kandersteg before I met Scouter Morgan. And I get it now. Like, what it's like, It's like Disneyland, but for Scouts.
It's someplace you want to take groups now, as opposed to...
I would happily take a group back there.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a national contingent either. It can just be a group.
Well, that's the magic of Kandersteg, is that you can go anytime and essentially have this same experience. I mean, maybe they won't have quite, all the global goals tent and everything else set up, right? The Jamboree specific stuff won't be there, but like the Alps are still there, the normal activities, the zip lining and the challenge activities, they're all still there.
Yeah.
You can still camp, you can still see the chalet and like do all of that stuff. It's all still there, and it's supposed to be the permanent mini Jamboree. That's what it exists to be. And I get it now, because it is that place. It's like Scouts Disneyland, and you go there and everybody is just like, if you've only been in scouting for a year and you're not sold on it, maybe Kandersteg isn't for you.
Yeah.
But, if you're a lifer and it's like one of the things you really enjoy the most in the world, like this is the place to go, because everybody there has that same enthusiasm. And it's just like, you're like, I'm home. I didn't even know it, but I'm home.
Like-minded individuals all gathered in one place.
Yep. So, and oh my gosh. Hang on a sec. I just got to run and grab 2 quick things.
Okay. We'll play some Italian music in this break. What do we have here? Whoa.
First, I do have something for you.
Oh.
So that's the Kandersteg 100 scarf.
Thank you.
And then an armband from the Hudson Scouts, some of whom are listeners.
Oh, fantastic. That's
so
neat.
That was their thing they were handing out. And then the Kandersteg 100 scarf.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a nice one. Looks roughly thus when rolled.
Yeah.
So
I'm picking it up. Yeah. No, this is great.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that in. I think I'm trying to remember or trying to figure out where to put stuff.
Yeah.
That has some value to me. And I think I might actually start putting it in my office.
Yeah. I need a scarf wall.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm big on the scarf trading.
Yeah.
So like
that you are.
This was the Calgary group that we were with.
Oh, nice.
Green and blue.
Yep.
This was one of the English scarves. And you can see it's very heavy emphasis on the George Cross.
Yes.
This was the main English contingent scarf, which I think is beautiful.
I seem to recall seeing that at our WJ as well. So
I don't think they've changed the design much.
No.
But I didn't get one at the last WJ. So I find this is beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's very nice.
This was Hong Kong.
Nice.
This was the Hong Kong scarf.
Okay.
So
I like it. No, I'll be honest. I worry that, or at least for me anyways, white scarf, it shows shows all the dirt.
Shows all the dirt. It does.
But
this was the American group just across the way from us.
Oh, nice.
From Virginia. Well, parts of them were from Virginia. It was also the Transatlantic Council. So, fun fact, BSA Transatlantic Council handles basically overseas service in Europe and Africa.
Oh.
So like people stationed at bases, Marines at embassies, if they have families.
Oh,
right?
okay. So it's something for the youth to do of service members.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So like I was talking with this one kid, he would have been maybe 17, 16. And his parents were stationed at the American Embassy in Bern.
Oh.
And so he was involved in scouting, but he was part of Transatlantic Council. So this is the Swedish.
Ah.
I love this along the border.
Let me have a look. Oh yeah, no, that's really cool. You'll have to put some pictures.
I will.
So people
have to.
can actually see what
what
we're oohing and awing.
I'll have to put a gallery up definitely. This one got unfolded, but this was our official Kandersteg scarf.
Oh yeah,
so the dark blue with the purple fringe.
Nope.
If you were a pinky, you had the pink fringe.
Oh, okay. And what's sorry, ignorance here. The the term pinky?
That's the seasonal volunteers at Counterstag. The last episode that I just released.
I was going to say
been on that. Yeah.
That just shows that I didn't listen to the last episode.
This was not our contingent necker, but there was another girl there who had made them. Yeah, and they're beautiful. And the dominant feature of that is the indigenous art.
Oh yeah,
which has been tooled to represent the 5 scouting sections.
Okay, interesting.
So you got the beaver tail.
Yeah.
Beaver tail for beavers, obviously.
Yep.
You got a wolf cub over here.
Yeah.
Trying to remember the rest here. Wolf cub is there. Mm-hmm. Bear is here. That's the rovers. The elk tracks are scouts, and then the feathers are venturers.
Okay. Interesting.
Now, here's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Group scarf?
Yep.
No,
it's not.
Group scarf. I saw this on...
So close.
No, well, it's the exact inverse of ours, right?
I was going to say, that's why it looks like our scarf.
Ours is green with orange border. Yeah. This is orange with green border. I saw this. I ran into these Irish in the airport.
You're like,
this group... When I was picking up those first 2 suitcases.
Come here. I need your scarf.
Oh my gosh, I need one of those scarves. They're looking at mine and they're just like,
I need your necker.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
I need your scarf. And I think this blue one was Tunisian, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I saw the Irish one. I'm like, I need that scarf. Like if there is one scarf I come home with, it has to be that one.
That is funny. Yeah, so, that is the exact inverse of our group necker.
So I'm going to have to wear that at a few meetings and see who notices.
Yeah.
But I make my own fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was... So the Canadian contingent scarves that we designed, I showed you like the design previously. I don't have mine anymore because they were such hot trading items.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were like being chased down.
You've done good.
Yeah. It was... so the girls, I think, each managed to come away with one of theirs. And fortunately, Doug, the guy who runs Scout Gear and did our merch, agreed to reopen the store. So I was able to order myself a couple more.
Yeah.
So I won't be bereft of them forever.
Yeah.
But I traded all of mine. And most of the people that had them traded like their last one. And so that's the other reason we reopened the store, so people could order them again if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, and I mean, it was literally a case of like you'd be walking by and then people would like do a double take and they'd run after you and they were just like, "Hey, you have the Canadian scarf. Can I trade you?" Like, man.
See, or listen to our podcast on trading.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, and Ella did a shirt trade, so nice. She got a Hong Kong shirt, and so yeah, like I mean. It was, honestly, though, I think the guy who got the most... So, I mentioned that there were a few different Canadian groups that were kind of mixed book. And a lot of them were basically like bookings that had been made during 2020, canceled. Mm-hmm. And then like Counterstag basically remained solvent and said, look, we don't want to issue you a refund, but we will give you the option of coming to whatever you choose once we reopen.
Right.
So, there's this one kid, a venturer from the Maritimes. And they'd booked to come in 2020, obviously couldn't. So they chose to come for Kander100. And like he was just there solo with his 2 parents who were the scouters. Mm-hmm. And I think he had the best time of anybody there because every time I saw this kid, he'd been adopted by some other national contingent.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just,
That's living your best life right there.
So where is he today? Oh, he's with the Algerians. Oh, cool. Cool.
Nice.
Yesterday it was the Irish. Oh. So
fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. I love to see that for people because like that is how you should experience this, right? You're just drinking it into the maximum. Yeah. And we did have some weather, including some tent flooding, which was unfortunate.
Yeah. What's scouting without a tent that floods?
Yeah. So Ella and Julianne wound up putting their tent up on like cargo pallets.
Oh, yes.
Just to keep them dry for the rest of the camp.
Yep.
Because again, just marshy ground. Mm-hmm. My tent had multiple leaks across the fly.
Oh,
so that sucked.
Boo.
Couldn't do anything about that except put a tarp over it.
Yeah.
I did not bring those tents back, but they are in Canada because the Calgarians, their tent was like a write-off after everything. Like it just basically died on them. So when they, when I was like, well, I'm probably just going to, I'll maybe donate the tents to the center because my group commissioner said, don't bring them home if they're not that great anyways.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you're not bringing those home? No. Can we? Sure.
I'm leaving them here.
Yeah.
Where they go from here,
Yeah.
it's not mine.
So it's
Not mine to worry about.
but and that night was a little bit rough because like so that was actually the night before we went to Gruyere, right? So the plan was that we were all going to just basically crash at Grace's apartment and get up early and go to the train.
Right.
Well,
When you say everybody,
like me and Ella, Juliana,
your family.
Yeah, my family.
Okay, right.
The
You
others
weren't crashing the entire contingent.
No. The others were also going to Gruyere the same day. Most of them had booked bus transport. We decided to save ourselves the 85 francs ahead because we already had train passes.
Right.
So anyway, as we're walking down, the girls mention that the floor of their tent is damp, and it had been raining. And we probably got about 18 millimeters of rain across that evening. It was a lot of rain. Or at least it's a decent amount of rain. You know, it's a couple inches.
Yeah.
Well, it's an inch, basically. It's enough. And so they mentioned, yeah, Dad, the floor of our tent was kind of wet. It's like 9 p.m. We're almost at the apartment. So I get them in, get them settled. Then I'm like, I got to go back up and see what the deal is.
Yeah.
So I run back up and I look in my tent first. That's when I realized that I have all these leaks across the fly. Because there's like half an inch of water pooling in parts of the tent.
Yeah.
Crap. So I grab the big duffel bags, the things you throw around your backpack to throw it on an airplane.
Yeah.
Grab those, grab all my stuff, stuff it into the duffel bag.
Yeah.
Stuff it into one duffel bag. Run over to the girls' tent, stuff all of their stuff into 2 duffel bags.
Yeah.
And then kind of stash that. I mean, by this time the rain's pouring down fairly heavily, but like I kind of stash that out of the way a little bit. And then I like run back up to the lodge, like to the Kandersteg Chalet, find a cart, run back, pull the girls' tent up, move it out of the muck that it's like now swimming in.
Yeah.
Move it over, grab the ground sheet, which was doing nothing for it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, it was properly set up, but like it was still like it was, and it wasn't even that the water was like flowing onto the ground sheet, it was seeping through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like just, I can't do anything
enough
about that.
water that it just,
Yeah.
No, I get you.
Old ground sheet, you know, 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Whatever. Stuffed all the stuff in the cart, threw the ground sheet over it because at least it was something.
Yeah.
Carted that back to the Kandersteg Chalet. It's getting close to midnight at this point.
Yeah.
Throw all the stuff into the basement of the Kandersteg Chalet, crash on a couch.
Yeah.
With a wool blanket they gave me. Get up the next morning, hoof it down to meet Grace. We go to Gruyere.
Yeah.
And whatever, like end of the day, finally come back. I've moved my tent. I moved my tent. I get some cargo pallets, get the girls up on the tent, get a tarp for mine to keep the leaking at bay, grab all of our stuff from the chalet. The 3 duffel bags. Here's yours, Ella. Here's yours, Julie. Here's mine. We get our stuff unpacked.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Most of the stuff, like I got to the tents in time, even though there's water pooling in mine, it was in an area, it was in an area that was empty and it hadn't reached the stuff yet. So like most of our stuff was dry. There was a bit of dampness. Yeah. There was, however, a 4th duffel bag, and that was where I had collected the wet stuff. And that went missing. Couldn't find it.
Okay.
2 days later, I eventually, after some investigation, realized that the area that I had dropped stuff in was apparently for the Pinkies to leave their laundry.
Oh.
So the duffel bag, like I had just missed it when I had grabbed everything. So someone had found the duffel bag, didn't know whose it was, figured it was a Pinkies, helpfully washed everything in it. So they're just like, oh, are you, hang on, come down here. Is this yours? We couldn't figure out who this was. That's my stuff. Thanks for washing it though.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Nice.
But I mean, I was I was angry about that at the time, but we did shake it off, and like people did have a good time of it either. But like, you know, and we were not the only ones getting flooded out, right? The Germans had those big black walled tents, which had no bottom.
Yeah.
The Hudson Scouts there, they had, some of their tents had significant flooding as well.
Yeah.
So like,
just sounds like the area was kind of spongy anyways.
Yeah. But
you weren't gonna.
But you know, you shake it off, and we kind of kept going with it, and it was a good time overall.
Well, fantastic.
And we didn't lose any luggage on the way home.
Never happens that way.
So there's that. But
nobody ever complains about lost luggage on the way home anyways. It's like
But yeah, William literally, like, all he wants to do is go back to Switzerland now. And actually, like, I mean, I do too. And not just for Kandersteg, but like for the food.
Yeah.
Grace was doing so great there.
Yeah.
You know, like there was so much that she could eat.
Yeah.
Whereas here she has to be like so hyper conscious about like especially the corn allergy, right?
Right.
But there she could just, you know, it was fine and she was doing so great.
Yeah.
And because they don't use a lot of that preservative stuff, right? And, you know, now we're back here and we're just like, like if only we had this and if only we had, you know, you know, that is, I think, the part that we miss the most, because it has actually been a bit of a struggle to like find a good diet now that we're back, because we'd gotten so accustomed to, you know, just eating very wholesome food. And it was not like, I mean, they fed us a heck of a lot of bread. And a fair bit of cheese. But we all still came back, you know, like it was a very healthy diet overall while we were there. And it was just like coming back here now. And it's like, it has actually been a struggle.
Yeah. It's a lot of walking too, though.
Oh, so much walking.
And up a hill. So, I mean.
Up and down. Well, yeah, because Kandersteg's a little bit uphill or the Scout Center's a little uphill from the village.
Yeah.
And I mean, beautiful country though.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. Beautiful. And like Kandersteg especially. Like it's like the stereotype of an Alp village, a village in the Alps. Right? The chalets and everything is just so.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
It was a good camp. Well, I should probably wrap this up because my wife still wants to spend some time with you tonight. But I do have a couple of things.
Yes,
I have various shout outs and whatnot. So let's go through this quick.
Okay.
First off, bit of a shout out to Mr. Samuel Ip, who I unfortunately was not able to run into, but evidently he was in the tower. He was with the Hong Kong contingent.
Oh, nice.
And so we didn't cross paths, but he's evidently a listener. And so I have to figure out postage and see if I can send him some stamps.
Yes.
And then also to, who else do I have for shout outs here? Hang on, I just got to go to the actual email for the podcast. Right, so also to Scouter Natalie. Now, Scouter Natalie I had previously corresponded with. She had asked for some stickers, and I didn't twig to it at the time. But she is actually the mother of Sam, one of the Pinkies that I interviewed for the last episode there.
Oh.
So she sent in a message via the website, said, I really enjoyed the Pinky podcast. Samantha is my daughter. And it was nice listening to her and her friend talk about Kisk. Also, thanks for the stickers you sent me. I'll be giving them out to my vents and rovers in New Brunswick to encourage them to listen to the podcast and advertise for you.
Oh, nice.
Thank you ever so much. And finally, there was one other thing, and where did I put it? Maybe I'll just search. Because I got one, and where was it? Dang it. There we go. Because we also have a new review. Someone left a review on the website.
Ooh.
So this was from Simon from the US. He says, hey, Scouter Ken and Colin, I've been listening to the podcast for the last couple of years. I love the Scouting 5 episodes, but also love when you and Scouter Colin have discussions. Keep up the great work. 5 stars. So,
well, thank you.
Yes, thank you kindly.
We try.
We do.
We put in an honest effort.
When we can make the time for it, we do. So
that is the challenge. Finding the time.
But anyway, so thank you for all of that correspondence. That's it's nice to hear from people. It's nice to have things to send out to people. Actually, I wanted to mention, please, over the next little while, pay attention to our social media channels. Because I'm just finalizing with Scout Gear with Doug, but we should be able to get some store links up for the necker and the crest.
Fantastic.
And the way we're trying to do this is, like, Doug needs a minimum number of neckers and crests in order to do a production run. So the way it's going to work is we'll put the links up, and you'll be able to go to, if you go to the Scouting Stuff page right now, there's actually a Scouting Stuff link in the menu. So you can find the stickers there. And if you want stickers, just go there and you can, like, it'll take you to a Google form and you can, like, send me your postage info and I'll send you some stickers. But that's also where the purchase links will go for the necker and the crests once they go live. And we're aiming for about September 20th for that. And basically, if the minimum number gets reached for neckers and crests, then we do a production run and everybody gets their stuff. And kind of like on Kickstarter, if we don't hit that minimum number, Nobody gets charged, and the production run just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So watch for that. Watch the socials, and you will know when that goes live.
Nice.
And hey, otherwise, thank you to the people who got in touch with us. And if you're listening right now, please, by all means, feel free to get in touch as well.
I have questions.
Do you?
Yes. How does one get in touch with us these days?
I mean, you can go through the website. There are, of course, there is a contact form on the website, actually.
Wow.
And of course, there's a voice message as well.
Oh.
So scoutingstuffpodcast.com. You can get in touch with us 2 ways there.
Oh, leave a voice message.
Direct email to scoutingstuffpodcast@gmail or outlook.com.
How archaic.
Facebook.com/ too many people. I really wish I could stop, but I can't. Facebook.com/scoutingstuffpodcast, Instagram.com/scoutingstuffpodcast, Twitter.com/scoutingstuff. I changed the handle. And then there's links in the show notes for Discord and also for a Telegram channel that I post stuff to. So
nice.
Find us by any of those means.
We would love to hear from you.
We would.
And leave reviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they help with visibility.
So thank you to Natalie and Sam for getting in touch, and Simon for the review. And thank you out there for listening. And until next time, be prepared.